I've got the giggles. I'm all excited.
Welcome back to the Two Chaps Endurance, boys. How's things?
Good, man.
What's
How are you
going
keeping?
on?
Good. I mean,
Yeah.
something we were talking before, but I mean, the last time we spoke, you were about to buy the van, if I remember correctly. Like, it was still in research and development. So, like, how's it been going since? Like, surely things have changed massively since our last lockdown discussion. What's been going on?
Yeah, big changes. I think the last time we were chatting, I think we had just picked up the van. We hadn't actually, we hadn't done any work to it yet, though. But we just, I think we might have just got it over. Literally got it from France, and it was only over in Ireland like a day or two or something like that. So yeah, it's now we're up and running, and we're pretty established in the spot, and got a good customer base. Regular customers that come. So yeah, it's been some journey so far. Anyway,
I think last time we talked, wasn't it? It was we probably had the endurance in, like, we were full swing with the endurance.
Yeah, you were still full on in the training and everything. I think Costa's right that you just got in the van.
Yeah.
We're kind of doing it up, maybe.
Yeah, exactly. It was literally just got the van and in the process of doing it up. But I think our last chat was all about talking about the challenges, like the challenges that we set out on the endurance page and stuff like that. So, yeah, I think, but I don't even know if we had a Deli Instagram page yet done up.
I think it was just starting, maybe that week or something. But it was, it's interesting. I suppose slightly different topic change this time, but still kind of relevant as well in terms of the whole self improvement, bettering yourself, lifestyle change. And I guess to catch people up, I've decided to do 2022 sober, thanks to some inspiration from Mo as well, and Cost, who's celebrating 3 years this Wednesday, I believe. That's true.
Yeah, tomorrow.
And
yeah.
That is sick. So we'll have to get some words of wisdom for sure. Like,
very inspirational. You got two boys here fucking dying for help.
Yeah.
Man, we're gonna need.
Let's see what I can do.
Absorb some of your wisdom, But I was interested for Mo. What was it because the last time we spoke, I think I asked you about it, and you're training loads, living a healthy life, but you're still, partying and stuff. Was it something that's, what's made you want to do it this year?
There was a few reasons, to be honest. I think I kind of was pondering the idea for a while, and it was kind of around, especially kind of just the Christmas just gone. I didn't feel great. I just came out of COVID. On Christmas Day, I think I had 8 cans of Guinness, and the last 3 cans I essentially necked because I knew I was going to bed soon. So I was like, right, because I wanted to get them into me. And I wasn't really enjoying drinking them as well. It was almost like I was just drinking because everyone else was drinking, and especially just coming out of COVID. So I wasn't fully recovered either. And the kind of day after that, I did nothing wrong with staying in bed and obviously sleeping, but I just didn't feel great. The fact that I got out of bed at 11 o'clock and I was really groggy and I didn't really have any motivation. I still obviously was in bits from the old COVID. I just kind of thought about it. And there's other reasons. There's some kind of family reasons as well. My dad wasn't really a big drinker growing up, especially over the last kind of 10 years, the amount of times I come home and from nights out and stuff, and Dad would always have kind of comments. Dad wasn't a big drinker, like I said, at all. And I know in my family kind of growing up, it was a bit of a, there was always parties. There was always parties in the gaff growing up. That's where essentially I got it from. I probably was influenced from that. And I don't know, I felt like I was always kind of the outcast, and I was just kind of was just doing it because everyone else was kind of doing it. I was never really the instigator, especially then going out and partying over the years. I never really was really the instigator. I kind of just followed, and it was just built up over time, man. And then eventually got to the stage where I was, obviously, like we all three of us did many a times together, for days on end. There was plenty of them, but then I got to the stage where I was like, all right, I'm not going to go out next weekend. And then then it was like 2 weekends in a row, and then it was 3 weekends in a row. Started kind of finding like more fitness and health and running, all that kind of stuff. And then now we're here, I guess, so it was a real, like, I really eased my way off it. I by no means, not that I'm aware of, had an addiction or like a drinking problem or I don't think I drank to wash my sorrows away or anything like that. It was more, like I said, I think I was just around certain people and following the crowd and not doing what Mo wants, as Costello says. Do what Mo wants, well, we always say to each other, it's you got to stay in your own lane, you got to do what works for you. And I've noticed over the years, those years, like I definitely was kind of, for certain things, especially like drinking, I was definitely following the crowd, and now we're here. So
whoa, that was, well, yeah, Jesus, that was quite triggering. That sounded exactly like my Christmas in terms of like just being like drunk and hung. Like this always happens to me every Christmas. That's because I've been doing this kind of like 6 months on, 6 months off type thing. And I feel like at Christmas, like you drink so many pints, and it's just kind of like a week or two of just like hungover, drunk, and just felt like kind of exactly like what you're saying, Mo, like not feeling like myself, like how I normally act or how I normally like. Even your whole routine changes, like what I eat, when I wake up, what I do, like it switches. And because like when I was younger, I suppose in college and stuff, always going out, like always partying, I still have that pattern of behavior, like somewhere like that gets written into your body in some sense. And when you go and start kind of behaving that way again, I feel like almost like a regression or something, or like it's almost, I mean, betrayal might be a bit strong a word, but like I'm not being myself. I'm not being like the way I've kind of built up over the last few years and stuff like that. So yeah, that really resonates me in terms of like wanting to try it out for more, because 6 months I think was pretty good, and it was kind of giving me a sense of it. But same way what you're saying there, Mo, I was kind of easing myself into like longer term, trying to do like a year, more than a year, and just kind of, yeah, I suppose be myself and not have to, because sometimes I feel like when I drink, you drink to please other people, like you drink to be, to make other people more comfortable rather than myself. Like you almost don't
bring
want to
out
be
this
like the black sheep or something.
Yeah, and bring out like this other side of you that like might be funny, might be aggressive, might be, whatever it is, but like you're almost kind of, and people kind of think that side of you is funny or something. It's like, but well, I think for me it was also like I think I'm a better person just being me and not having to, be drunk or on drugs. Like I can tell you now that the drug side, class A's, all that kind of stuff, I realized that I'm just not a good person when I'm on them. Do you know, like I'm quiet. I'm kind of in my own, to myself. I'm not like, do you know what I mean? So, yeah, I think that's a big thing, isn't it? It's like, you want to be able to just be happy in the way you are in your own skin, without having to use something that's external and, not good for you.
And to change your personality. But that's something I was thinking about it earlier, actually, before this conversation. I didn't always feel that way. Like whenever, I guess when we would have been hanging out and partying and stuff previously, like a couple of, like a good few years ago, but I liked the person that I was at like 5 in the morning or 6 in the morning on the rollover more than I liked who I was normally. that was like my ideal self. I was like, that's the guy. I was like, I gotta try and be that guy all the time. So like, I always kind of chasing the dragon of like, that dude is the coolest. Like, I gotta be like him. But that, like, it kind of changed then at a certain point where it became more like, I guess I started to like myself more probably outside of that type of environment. And then it became a bit like, I don't know, there's a trade-off in a sense. Like if you're going to be that person, the 5 a.m. guy, you can't be the getting up at 6 a.m. guy. Like they can't be the same person. Like there's this kind of conflict or something. I wonder, was that for you? Because you're like fucking Jedi level. You're down the line, man. I feel like you're just like sitting there with all the wisdom. Like just like, I remember.
I definitely remember the 5 or 6 o'clock in the morning version of myself. Like I think when I first started partying, I was kind of like, I get what you mean by that, man, because like I used to think like, oh, when I'm like that, I'm like in the zone. Like I can just talk to anyone. I can be whoever you want me to be. You know, I can just be the funnest person or the funnest version of myself. But I think after a while, you know, it kind of like it stopped working and I couldn't be that person anymore. And I would actually like every single time would just like towards the end of my drinking and my using and everything like that, I was just constantly like in such a negative mindset. And it's like the drink and the drugs, they stopped working for me. They stopped doing what they said in the tin. And I was then just in a terrible place, you know, and but it was like chasing the dragon, like you were saying there. I was like constantly trying to, like, you know, I'd still keep going at it because I was like, no, surely I'll be able to get to that fun stage. Surely the fun, I can get the glory days back, you know. But the harder I tried, the harder I'd fall, you know, and then just be rolled off, you know. So I think I just decided, listen, I'm going to cash in my chips here. I think I'm done. I'm out. Thank you very much.
I fold. Good luck.
Proper retired.
Exactly. I'll
hang up your
now. Come on, I'm done.
So, well, that's kind of where I'm like. That's what I'm feeling at the moment. To be honest, like this Christmas was another one of those times where it's like just going into it, good intentions, gonna be better, gonna be not do that, and then you start drinking, and you know you're pissed, whatever else, you're up till all hours, and it just I've never been. There's obviously some people that can just go and have a couple of pints and then that's it for them. That doesn't really seem to work for me. I just take it too far, like all the time. I just have, I don't know why. I guess maybe it's my personality and probably it's what drives me to do other stuff, which is good. But just in that arena, I've just had to face facts that like it doesn't do me well. And I know a lot of people who it doesn't. A lot of people that we would know and a lot of my own friends. But I wonder then, you know, what makes you wake up to that? Like, because you could very easily ignore it. Like, you don't have to kind of heed the warning, I suppose.
I think, I know for myself and maybe, well, I know for both of you, I'm sure it's like, I think finding like hobbies has been a big thing for me. Like finding a new thing that I enjoy doing, a thing that gives me a bit more purpose, something that, you know, makes me feel like human and, you know, not human, you know what I mean? And something, you know, creativeness, like, and then through that, then you meet this person that's also on the same buzz, and then that person knows another person, and then you're like, oh, so you're not hungover on the weekends as well. So, oh, you go for a run on the Sunday as well, I'll go with you. So obviously I'm not going to drink on a Saturday because I'll just be hungover, you know. So I think that's a big thing. I think but that's not going to arrive on the doorstep, is it? You know, like you kind of have to, you know, if you want, like Costello, you know yourself better than anyone, like you have to want it, you know, you have to want to change. And, you know, it could be a small change or it could be a big change like Costello, you know?
Yeah. Like, I think it was when I started, like, really, you know, like, the first thing you need is to want it, and then you can go out and do it, you know. And like for so long I wanted it, you know, and I was like, I want it, but I just didn't know how to do it. And I tried sobriety a good few times before I managed to get it, you know. Like I tried, like I'd get like 2 months here, and then I'd feel a bit better, and I'd be like, you know what? I'm sure I'm grand now. I'm sure I'll go back and have a bit of fun, and then I'd go back drinking, and I'd just be picking up exactly where I left off before, and like all the progress I had made was just gone, you know, and I'd actually end up always like things would always just get worse again, you know, and I had to kind of have a few of those times when I went back drinking to realize that like it just isn't for me at all. It doesn't agree with me, doesn't agree with anything. And like once I take a sip like of beer, it's just like I can't stop then, you know, and it's just literally it's days at a time. But like I remember I wanted it so bad for so long, but it was when then one day I just said, right, now I'm willing to do whatever it takes in order to stay sober. And you know, I did like I checked myself into a treatment center. I got out, and I just had a whole new outlook on life, and kind of a new perspective on how to go about things in order to stay sober, because I just didn't want to drink again. I just said I'm sick of it. It doesn't agree with me. And I just kind of decided then to do whatever it takes. And I surrounded myself with people who were like-minded in me as well, you know, that I found like a group of people who didn't drink and learned kind of how they don't drink, you know, how they stay sober. And then that, like Mo said, makes you meet new people. And then that leads to new interests, and you pick up new hobbies, and then it's a whole new world. Like sobriety is literally a whole new world compared to what I had before. And what I found with sobriety is it's an open world. Like my mind is so much more open-minded now, where I'm willing to always try new things, and you know, I think I'm a much better person as well. And like, you know, I definitely couldn't have accomplished so much of the things that I have today and the stuff that I've done with Mo had I been drinking. Like there's no question about that, and I wouldn't have been able to take it to the level that we've taken it to as well. So yeah, wanting and doing is essentially the two main things in order to get it.
There's a lot of really serious points there, particularly that last one, I think, which is so underrated, which is, you know, in order to go drinking, you have to sacrifice something else. And it might not be immediately obvious what you're sacrificing, but it's very, like, to do what you guys are doing and pursuing that big goal, you know, starting something, taking risks, putting yourself out there is very difficult, and it requires everything you have. Like, I even find that with, like, podcasting. I started the podcast when I wasn't drinking, and a lot of the stuff I've done, like with online creation, with my playing stuff, has all been while I'm not drinking. Like, I wouldn't have the confidence, I think, or the motivation if I was going out every weekend drinking. Like, I just wouldn't have the space in myself to do it. So even if, you know, you can suffer the hangovers and stuff, there's always another kind of unknown cost there, which is, you know, what could you be doing? Like, what could you be making with your life?
Something has to give. You know, something has to give. Like, if you want to, it's like anything, you know, you can't do, like, people are like, oh, you can't do it all. You know, you can't like be going out session every weekend and then trying to run a business and also trying to train for an Ironman and also trying to have a relationship and then also trying to spend time with your family. You know, like that's too much for one person, you know, and you're not going to be the best partner to your relationship, you know, in the relationship. You know, you're not going to be the best athlete that you want to be. You're not going to be the best, you know, business owner. Like, it just doesn't. But that doesn't mean, like, obviously you can still drink, but it's like, what, like, why do you want to stop drinking? Like, why, you know, you have to, I guess, know your why, and you know, it doesn't, people obviously still manage their lives by still drinking, but it's like something has to give. It always does, you know.
Big time. And there's always a cost. And that it's a hard decision, because I guess the way I've been weighing it up was like that I do the 6 months off, and then that's kind of like, you know, retrains my habits. I'm on kind of a different wavelength, and then when I go back, I can still have the fun and stuff. But kind of like where Costello's at, like, I'm not enjoying it as much. I'm enjoying some of it, but also the downsides of it. Like last weekend, I went out and I didn't drink, And Sunday morning, got up, went for a run with my mate from Galway who was up. He went cold water swimming in the lagoon, and it was class. Like, whereas every other Sunday, like since then, I'd woken up like about to scream basically because I was so hungover and like just staring into the void. Like, God damn it, why have I done this?
Yeah.
And it was just like such a novelty to wake up like, oh, I actually feel fine. What the fuck? What's going
There's
on?
such a contrast in that, though, isn't there? Like, there's such a contrast in the two things, and it's like
Mental.
you always hear this, and I know, like, we've all been there. Like, you always hear this, like, I'm never drinking again, or never drinking again. You know, like you see it on social media, and you see people saying it. It's like it's such a contrast to like waking up on Sunday morning at like 12 and going, you know, and then
what have I done?
or like waking up at like, you know, or waking up at the same time and going, beast, I'm going out for a run. Do you know what I mean? Or I feel fresh. You know, it's there's such a difference in the two, you know.
Yeah, it really never gets old waking up on a Sunday and feeling fresh. Like the last even 3 years,
just rubbing
now,
it in with everybody.
I still love it. Like every Sunday, I'm like,
we'll get there. We'll get there.
Yeah. Sorry, lads. Let me to rub it in. Yeah,
I've only got one in the bag so far, but yeah,
appreciate it anyway.
Yeah, but it's that. I mean, taking satisfaction in that. And something else I know is taking satisfaction in going home from a night out. Like, so I was out in a nightclub on Saturday, or a bar in Belfast, and then, you know, walked home after at like 1 and felt so much better walking home because I wasn't drunk. I wasn't walking home being like, oh, I'm going to feel terrible tomorrow. What have I done? Yada, yada. You know, I was walking home going, this is actually fine. I'll go sleep. It'll be okay. There's no...
It's like you're in control.
Yeah. You're in control, and that you can enjoy that. That there's actually, for me now, that's becoming more pleasurable than going out drinking, which is a big change because it definitely wasn't that way before. Like, maybe it's kind of a grown-up thing. I don't really know, but I wonder, do you guys find that? Like, what is it that you take the joy from now in, you know, the going out sober, or where I know obviously with the training and with the business, you're getting a lot of like good stuff from that. Is there anything else that you take like on a night out, or, you know, on your weekends maybe would be more specific?
Lego.
Yeah.
First.
Yeah, I guess like the social aspect, you know, it definitely took a big hit when I first got sober because my social life revolved around nights out and stuff like that, and I had nothing else, you know, to no other kind of outlet. And so I remember for my first year I found it very difficult because I had absolutely like, it was like I was starting from scratch again or something like that, you know. I was starting life over again or something. My biggest kind of advice that I could give for someone just starting out as well would be, you know, find clubs, you know, like I joined the triathlon club after about a year or so, and that got me meeting new people. And you know, I wouldn't be one to go to pubs or clubs or anything like that. It just wouldn't be my scene, you know. Like, I'll go if it was, say, if it was my girlfriend's birthday or something like that, and she wanted to go somewhere, and like her friends were going for drinks, I'd happily go to that. Or like, you know, if there was an event on that, you know, it'd be good if I turned up just to show my face and all. I'm happy enough to do that, but you know, I wouldn't actively look to go out or anything like that. Just because I have new hobbies now, I have new interests, and I just do them. And I'm like, why would I kid myself? Like, realistically, I don't want to go to a nightclub. So, like, why would I go to one? You know what I mean? Like, I kind of want to do things that I enjoy doing. So I did swap a whole new scene altogether when I came into sobriety. But, you know, I really enjoy, I'm much happier doing what I'm doing today than I was before. So I'm just going to stick at it, you know. But
It sounds like you're
definitely,
being
definitely,
selective there as well, like choosing your battles. You know what I mean? Like you're not maybe
yeah,
some you'd feel like sense of responsibility that you have to go to every night out, or you have to be at this, you have to be. Sounds like you're kind of picking them out and being like, okay, maybe for this one I'll do it, but like it's
yeah,
not the norm.
exactly, yeah, yeah. Very like selective. I'll pick it, and like I know that it's definitely it's very important to socialize as well. So I have to remember that because like I can sometimes go overboard with my training and especially the endurance stuff where you can do a lot of that stuff alone. And if I'm doing that alone a lot of the time, it's not good for
Mm.
me because then I'm in my head, I'm not socializing. And as me and Mo spoke about the other day, like we're humans, we need to socialize. It's such an important part of who we are, you know, and in order to
Yeah.
grow, it's about, you know, having groups of people that you meet regularly who you share similar interests with, you know. So yeah,
You're hitting on something really deep there, which is something that I struggle with a lot, which is the socializing without drinking. But when you're like, because the same, I do a lot of training, and then the all the writing I do is all on my own as well, and like working remotely, like you don't really see people that much. Like you have to make a big
yeah,
effort to maintain friendships or to build relationships. Like especially because I live
yeah,
away from home, so like I have to try and make an effort to actually
Mm.
have relationships with people. And I think
yeah,
not drinking is can make that, or maybe drinking's the easy way out with that because there'll be people going for pints, and then you can just go for pints, and it's kind of a way in. I wonder, do you guys struggle with that? Is that something you found, Mo, now, kind of going on this journey?
Yeah, like I know, I mean, this has been, to be honest, I've kind of been on this buzz for months. I've still like gone, I literally,
Yeah,
like my drinking recently, I go to the local with Luke. You know Luke McLaughlin? Do you know
yeah,
Luke
yeah,
McLaughlin? Yeah. Like he lives around the corner from me. Like I'd go with him to local, we have 3 pints. So every 2 weeks or something, with a cheeky glass of wine at home with the missus or something. But so I've kind of been on this buzz for a while now, and it's like more than probably 2 years where like I'm not really going to much nights out, the odd one. But I definitely noticed since I stopped kind of feeling like I have to go out every single weekend to kind of please other people. Once I started then finding new little outlets and sports running, I was going to the running club, or I kind of started meeting other people and other people that had other interests. Now I still obviously, you miss some of your friends, of course, but I think for me it's like now that let's say I don't drink anymore, right? Some people might go, fuck Mo, like he's not drinking anymore. He's no
call me
fun.
when you're drinking again. Like I
Yeah,
get
it's like
that
he's
sometimes.
no fun. Like there's gonna be people like that. Like I'm sure Costello's had people like that. 100%. But I
Mm.
think at the end of the day, like I can still socialize with some of my friends. We just won't go to the pub. We'll go for a run, we'll go for a walk. There's other things to do except for just drinking, and it's such a thing in the Irish culture. And you're literally up into it. You're drinking in third year and fourth year, and so like
yeah,
there is other things to do. But definitely since we started the endurance page, once we just kind of took action, went like let's do something with ourselves, and we started doing something that we're both kind of passionate about, and that something we both enjoy, then it's like, those floodgates started just opening, those gates just started opening, and next minute all these little opportunities, all these new people, these people that are on the same buzz to you. But then if you're going out every single weekend and drinking pints and session, whatever, you're those gates are opening to other things. So like if you want to maybe eat more fast food, if you want to, socialize with people that are just drinking all the time, if you want to be hungover, if you want to like lack in sleep, if you want to socialize as well, which is obviously so important, but it's like you choose what life you want to live, and definitely since we started taking action on on let's say our future, or like start setting up a business organically, just little doors started opening, and we started meeting these other people that are the same or just like-minded, and don't drink often or don't drink at all, and they're cool, you know. So yeah, I don't know. I think you kind of like those little opportunities arise when you look for them, you know.
Yeah, and that world might have been around you the whole time, but you just don't notice it, like, because we're so absorbed in what we're doing, and like if you're just those opportunities could just walk straight past you, and if you're not interested, if you're going like, oh, I'm out session all the time, you won't even pay attention to them. It's kind of that was a real mindset change for me as well, was looking for opportunities, I suppose. For a long time I was kind of like, yeah, whatever, very nonchalant about the whole thing, but actually taking on the opportunities that present themselves to you creates more opportunities. Like just actively pursuing them gives you more opportunities to do other things. But there was something I wanted to actually ask you about there, which is we kind of touched on, which is Ireland and starting out drinking. And I wanted to ask you, like, when was the first time that you drank? What was the first session, so to speak?
Well, I remember, the first time I did, from what I remember, I think it was in a park in Cabinteely, and it was just like a few of us from school, and like I don't know, I can't remember what year it was in. It might have been third year, or second year, I don't know. We were young though, and all I remember was getting sick, you know. Projectile vomiting everywhere, and then having to get the 84 bus home and getting sick on that. It was like, yeah, sweet. So but yeah, I think that was the first time.
Mine actually wasn't in Ireland, it was in Portugal. It was summer, I think summer going into second year. I was like, I think I was 13, and I was actually with a few people the year ahead of me that were in my school. They just happened to be over in Portugal at the same time. So like we just met up or whatever, and they were drinking, and it wasn't their first time drinking. It was my, and like I was trying to act all cool, like, oh, I've done this before, you know, and you know, have a beer, and I drank, and I loved it. Like I was like, oh, that was the best crack. And I remember just feeling, it was like I just felt like it was kind of like that. What we spoke about there, when you're in your element, you know, and because I was able to be so chatty and so confident and stuff like that, instantly I was just drawn to it, and I was like, what is this magical elixir, you know? And it just took me out of myself, and you know, because I always would have been a very shy person before that, and low self-esteem kind of stuff, whereas this fixed all that. So that's when I just was so drawn to it then, you know. And it was like and then that's why I think I went hell for leather with it for so long, and I used it to kind of escape a lot of problems that I had within myself, you know. But yeah, I definitely remember my first experience quite vividly, and I think that's why I kind of nearly depended on it, like from the get-go. And also it became just I was just fascinated by it. And that's when, you know, when I came back to Ireland, I, like, before any discos, anything like that, I'd need to get drinks into me, because I felt that I was boring if I wasn't drinking, you know. I felt like I couldn't be myself if I didn't drink. So it was straight into like a dependency on it then. And then after a while, just fucking all hell broke loose. So yeah.
Man, yeah, exactly. You get the dosage wrong, and then you end up wrecking the place. But that's so interesting. Like, it was exactly like instant confidence, like charisma in a bottle or something. If you are a bit shy, like I feel like I'm an introverted person that like pretended to be an extrovert for so long that I actually kind of thought I was an extrovert. Whereas I actually find social situations kind of draining, but I used drink for so long to become like super social, especially when you don't feel like being social. That's always kind of, you're like, oh, I'm tired, or like maybe you don't want to go out that much, but you're like, if I have 4 or 5 pints, I'll just be like straight in it. Like
that's interesting. Mate, like hearing that point of view as well with Costello's first experience, because I was quite the opposite. Like I didn't like it, and I was like, what is? I felt rotten. And then for like a good bit of my early years of drinking, I used to always projectile vomit everywhere. You know, like it was always like this joke with the lads, and so did some of the lads as well. Like so does, and like we'd all be just getting sick. Now I don't know if we were just drinking too much, but you know, I early on I was just like, this is filth, like, you know, and but again, I think, and like, but I grew up around it, but I think from an early age and for years, my dad would always be like, pretty much saying like, don't drink, stay away from the drink, and I was like so into sports, you know. I used to play like sports at quite high level, and I play every fucking sport, you know. And the amount of times I went in to play cricket matches, and I was like, you know, no sleep whatsoever, and I had the best game of the season, you know what I mean? And fucking like football matches, and like, you know, it just wasn't me. It just wasn't me, you know. It just wasn't me. It wasn't for me. It didn't agree with me.
It's interesting because I'm kind of in between the two. Like, yeah, the first time I went drinking was when I was like 12 or 11, and basically me and these bunch of lads that were going boxing, we were supposed to be going boxing together, and we told each of our parents that we were getting lifts off the other parents. And then I didn't, like, my parents don't drink, so we didn't have any alcohol in the house to steal or anything, but they all took like booze from their parents' houses. So I think we had like 4 cans of Coors Light and like a Tipperary Kids bottle of vodka in it. And I just remember having like taking like the Tipperary Kids bottle and taking a sip and like nearly puking everywhere because it tasted like glue, and like grabbing the can and drinking it, but then being like, oh, that's gross. And then not doing it again for like 3-4 years and just not being really interested in it as much. But then at a certain point, I kind of I think when I started to try and be more socially successful, I think that was really where I was like, okay, this is something that can actually help me get like further up the social thing or something. And then I really started feeling like I needed it, I suppose. And like I wouldn't go out if I wasn't drinking or anything. And that carried on for quite a long time, really.
Wow.
But yeah. That's kind of
that's where the problem is, though, isn't it? It's where, like, you know, when you think that you need it to socialize, you know, when you are well able, you know what I mean, and like obviously for some people it is difficult to do it, but I guess we all have something inside us, you know, that is more powerful than anything else. You know, it's more powerful than alcohol, than drugs, than, you know, we all have something inside us, you know, and it takes work. Like, I don't know, Costello, how many years did it take you to find that power, you know? And some people it takes longer, some people it takes shorter, you know?
Yeah.
And also the socializing aspect, that in a sense it's kind of like cheating, because if you're always socializing with drinking, you're not building the social skills that you need without drink. So like, your confidence is shot when you're not drunk because you're so used to drinking to be confident. So like, something that I noticed, like taking breaks and not drinking, and also doing like podcasts and talking to people and, you know, in different capacities, you build communication skills and you build socializing skills, and it just becomes like perfectly normal. It's way less daunting. But if you always drink when you go out, and then you don't go out and you drink, you're going to have anxiety and you're going to feel not yourself. You're going to feel like you're not enough. And so the drink creates that problem. Like, it might not be anything wrong with you or with anybody else. Like, it could just be that that's what you've always done. Like,
exactly, man. 100%. Yeah. It's like I said, it's like you kind of, it can, if you're depending on it in terms of helping you socially, then realistically it's going to send you backwards, because like I said, like, it took me so long to kind of almost learn how to socialize again, and it was like, you know, my biggest helper was stripped from me, you know, because I knew it was no good for me anymore, so I was having to start all over again. And like I talk about my first year of sobriety a lot, about how difficult I found it. And I don't want that to put anyone off, by the way, because
Me and Mo are
just the
sitting
way
here
I
like,
want
what?
that. Yeah, it's like, what?
Yeah,
This
cut,
isn't
cut
Hang on
that
a
part
second,
out. Cut
what?
that part out.
Yeah, but it was because I needed. It was just my social. It was down to my social skills and my. But no, it was down to my self-esteem, and my self-belief and my self-worth. You know, I had to build them up, because they were on the floor. You know, so they needed to be built up big time, and that took time. You know, it took time. But I'm definitely the best decision I've done, you know, and I feel a lot more confident within myself, you know, after putting in the work, you know, that needed to be done. And it really is like just putting yourself out there then, you know, and it was almost like, you know, I heard someone say I was very oversensitive my first year. I remember I was so oversensitive, and I heard someone saying before about when they felt so sensitive at times, it felt like their skin had been any situation that they had to deal with that was in any way, you know, affecting their self-esteem. It felt like their skin was being ripped off and vinegar being thrown on them. And that's how I felt in some situations. It was just so intense. You know what I mean? I felt like just, yeah. So I remember
That's
like
intense.
in work. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
Hell of a
But I
metaphor.
remember feeling like that a lot of the time in work, or like in situations, you know, group situations. I felt like I was just such an outcast, and I felt I couldn't speak to people like the way that I used to be able to speak to people, you know. And it was just, I found it so just intense. But like I said, it was all about building yourself up and you know, finding that inner confidence within yourself, you know, and then you can get past all that.
And how did you do that, Cost? How, like, is there anything specific you can say that to build that self-worth that you did that felt very significant? Because
Yeah,
that seems really important.
yeah, and it's all about finding, you know, finding love for yourself. You know, it's all about bringing up your self belief first. You know, and like I was one that would always put myself down. You know, I would put myself down no matter what happened, even if I did, you know. If I had the most perfect day ever, I'd still find a flaw that I did that day, you know, and just not good to myself, you know. And I think it was then finding a bit of, I found a lot of things. Meditation, mindfulness was great for me. That helped, you know, find peace within myself. And then when I kind of honed in on that, I was able to start building. And then when I think it was to slow down the chatter in my head, slow down the voices in my head that were all putting me down, you know. And I guess to slow them down, it was about going into here. I don't mean to sound cliche or anything like that, but it was like I saw a quote the other day. I put it out on the Instagram. You know, if you quieten your mind, your soul will start to speak. And that's what I had to start doing. I had to stop listening to the negative thoughts in my head and start going inside here, you know, and finding out who I really was. And then when I find out who I was, and I started to accept the person that I am, then I could start to grow, you know, and then the negative thoughts weren't there anymore. And then I could be myself around people and not feel that I wasn't looking at myself through everyone else's eyes anymore. You know, I was looking at myself in here, and that's the most important thing. And once you're good on the inside, then you can handle any situation, you know.
Fuck, man, there's that quote there specifically really reminded me of something that, like, whenever I was kind of like first moved over to Berlin, I was trying to get myself together and kind of sort myself out and doing a very similar thing, which was trying to listen to my conscience in a sense, like listen to the voice inside me that wanted the best for me. Whereas usually I'd be like, oh, whatever. Like, I'd say I'd do something and I wouldn't do it. And I was always building this negative self-image that I was a person that didn't show up, that didn't follow through on the things that they did, that just talked a big game and didn't actually do it. So a change there was that I started doing the things that I said I was going to do always. So I started to see myself more as a person that could do those things and that did do those things. and that kind of built a respect for myself that I would do that. Whereas before I'd like say I'd do something and then I would just get, you know, broken promises or whatever. But that really reminded me of that, learning to like listen to myself and to respect myself as well, and actually, you know, do the things I say.
100%.
I wonder for you, Mo, is there anything there that like is resonating with you that on this kind of particular journey?
Yeah, like in terms of kind of getting like sobriety, like and stuff like that, or what, or
yeah, or even just building self-worth and self-belief, because I feel like that's such a big part of also, you know, being not drinking and putting yourself out there.
Yeah, definitely. 100%. I think I can agree with Costello there as well. Like with meditation and stuff like that, I think that's definitely that definitely helps massively. I think, you know, like I said earlier, there's something inside of all of us which is more powerful than anything anyone could ever imagine. You know what I mean? This being is like nothing else. You know, we're the most successful, smart, intelligent, you know, like animals, beings that there is known to man so far. And I think, like going back to what you lads are saying, like it's so easy to when you really look at the biggest picture, we're actually, you know, we're amazing. Each of us, you know, are you know, we have something so amazing. And I think with me, from like an early age, I grew up with being told I was the best at this and the best at that. So my confidence was quite high. Obviously, confidence, you know, other people telling you you're good and all that. So I was always told I was always winning competitions and tournaments and all this kind of stuff. And then when I stopped doing it, when I started socializing more and I started going out properly in like fourth year or whatever and going to parties and stuff like that, and I slowly stopped playing a lot of the sports I was playing. And I relied on, you know, like I was kind of living up to my dad's expectations a lot, because he was like an amazing support for me, and he was always there for me for every single game, you know. Whenever he was just there. He was there all the time. But he was definitely disappointed in me if I didn't go to training because I went out. He was disappointed in me if I just stopped playing certain sports and stuff like that. He was disappointed because then I started drinking something that he didn't like. So for years I lived with, and I could have went somewhere with a couple sports. You know, I definitely could have. I was doing good, let's just say that, and then I started going out and socializing, and I kind of you know, for a few years I wasn't in a good headspace, and that's when I really started going out, you know, and partying loads and you know, doing bold things, you know, and getting in trouble and stuff like that, and not doing well in school and constantly being in trouble and getting bad grade, you know, the list goes on. And I definitely, I don't know. Once I realized, once I kind of, like what Costa said, I had to start falling in love with myself again, and not in an ego way, obviously, but I'm a bit of an optimist as well, by heart. I don't know. I think I get it from my dad. My dad was a very positive person, and you know, he always saw positivity and very optimistic about the future and the present. So you know, I'm able to kind of pick myself up quite easy, just from myself. I'm able to just do it, but like, again, it's a daily challenge. It is, and especially now, like saying, "Oh, I'm going to be sober for the year," and everyone. It's funny, like you probably yourselves, you got it's like, "Oh, well done, congratulations!" Like, I'm not there yet. Relax, like Jesus Christ, it's only
it's
11
only
days.
been like 11 days.
Yeah, it's like
Jesus,
like,
wearing medals around my chest and walking.
Yeah, it's like you know,
number one.
So
number one.
yeah, but you know, I think that's the thing, that wasn't it. It's like it's setting a little challenge, and I think challenges are really key as well. really, really key for growth. And
There's
you've got to look for
You're
it.
saying there, Mo. Oh, sorry. Yeah,
No, you're
but there's an interesting conflict there between like the endurance, self-improvement, always bettering yourself, and loving yourself. There's a real kind of like there's a I think nowadays there's a lot of confusion over that. Like that people say, you know, loving yourself as you are, and that can be almost an excuse not to change the things that are bad about you. I don't think you guys mean it that way at all, but that there's this kind of difficulty between it where it's like, you know, I should be working on myself to make myself better, but also at the same time to have this value for myself and this appreciation.
Yes.
100%.
Which I find is a difficult kind of duality.
It's like you're trying to juggle the two of them, you know, because you want to get better and you want to progress, but it's like, but you're, you know, it's okay to have that burger if you want to have that burger, you know, don't be too hard on yourself, you know. It's like, but I've got a fucking race tomorrow, you know, I've got to keep the six pack, you know, I'm gonna fucking, you know, it's like, relax there, you know what I mean? And it's really, it is a fucking juggle.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, like we do need to have challenges in place in order to get better. But like, if you start obsessing with those challenges and think, well, if I don't complete this challenge, then failure. You know, if you go into that mindset, then that's an issue. You know, so it's all about balance, and like balance is everything in life. And if I know that there was a time where I didn't have any challenges for myself, and I wouldn't have been in a good headspace, you know, because I wasn't really doing much of myself. I wasn't motivated, and then started to get some challenges in place. You know, I wanted to take on a triathlon, so I wanted to get sober, followed that, and started to better myself. But then I've gone overboard many a time with the challenges and tried to take on way too much.
Because you can do it with endurance as well. I've done the same thing myself, man, where you become like, you almost fall into a trap of where you're doing that all of the time, and it becomes a crutch in itself. Like that it's a healthier crutch, but that there's almost like a weird third option that's like, I don't know,
that we're trying to find, like,
exactly. Maybe that's what we're trying to figure out here.
But do you know what it is? Like what you were saying there, it's like, oh god, it slipped my mind. But what was it? Yeah, you're trying to find that crutch, or you're trying to find that balance. I can't remember. If it comes back, I'll
self-love and self-improvement. Really, I suppose is what I'm kind of.
Oh yeah.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
That was it, really. I didn't more,
so it's like it's the easy. Yeah, go on.
No. Sorry, I cut across you there.
All right. It's the like the easy route is to, like, for example, with Costello. Sorry, I'm making all the examples out of you, Costello. But you're the one who's the most successful here, right? When it comes to staying off the gargle.
Very true, man. He's highest up on the ranking boards.
So you know, it's like you kind of the easiest route for you in that at that time, for example, like would have been to just keep drinking because it's easy. Like you literally just, all you have to do is walk out of your gaff, walk down to the offo, pick up a six pack, go home, drink them, and then you feel great for the first short period, and then you're in bits the next day. But it's like the hardest part is to stop doing it, challenge yourself, and then get up and do a triathlon. That's the hardest part, but it's the most rewarding, you know. And it's like that's where it's like, and obviously for some people it's a lot more difficult to kind of understand that, or trying to like make that change. But like, if again, it goes back to the thing, if you really want it, you'll make it happen. And like I love this quote, and I've always like I love this quote, and it's like, progress is impossible without change. And I believe that like you have to like, and obviously it could be a big change, it could be a small change. I mean, it might be the way you dress, you know, you might be like, oh, I'm not really dressing great, I'm not really picking up, you know, but that's irrelevant. If that's what you believe, maybe you're like, okay, I might change a few things, or you know what I mean. It could be small, it could be big, it could be lifestyle change, but I think that like you have to make changes to progress, to get better, you know.
Yeah, and changing your values as well. I mean, that's kind of the underlying thing, isn't it? Where it's like at one point we all valued, you know, having the crack and going out with our mates more than we valued maybe our career and our health and, you know, the future and Sunday mornings and everything else. So I guess figuring out what you value yourself and then pursuing it is important, because I didn't really know that, to be honest, at all. I just kind of, you know, wanted to be cool or whatever, and that was about it. Like, I didn't really think about much else. But yeah, figuring out what that struggle is, because that's what you're saying, Mo, like that we need to struggle for something. Like, you can't just be, you know, floating along. I feel like
it's actually there's science, like it's been backed up. I'd love to tell you the exact paper, but there's been like multiple you know, peer reviewed studies, journals written and stuff where, you know, like without like resistance, without a challenge, like without struggle, you know, there is no growth. Like, you have to go through difficult situations to get better. Like, you have to. You can't just glide through life with you know, sitting on the couch all day, because like nothing will happen.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, nothing gets done, and there's kind of the. Well, there's actually there's an interesting point on that. Like, I've studied emotions a lot, in terms of the work I've been doing on personality and personality neuroscience, and you only get positive emotion in relation to a goal. So like joy, happiness, all the good emotions that are like different flavors of positive emotion are only gotten in pursuit of a goal, and actually not when you get the goal. That's why a lot of people get depressed after like they win the Olympics or something. You think like, oh, that's going to be the best, but then they actually feel like shit, and they're like, what? Or somebody finishes their masters or something, and you're thinking, woohoo, but then you actually don't have the goal that's given you the positive emotion. It's actually dropped off. So the idea that we can feel good about ourselves and not have a goal actually isn't true at all. Like, you have to have some sort of goal, big or small. But that's a bit of a tangent anyway.
Oh, that's interesting.
No,
on me,
I completely. I was just identifying with everything that you said there, so I was like, yes, yeah, 100%, man. And like, for me, yeah, like, yeah, exactly. It was, and like, going to what Bodie's just kind of said, you know, what Mo was saying about the struggles is like, I've probably learned the most valuable things in my life during periods that I found I was in a struggle, you know. That's where the major growth happened for me, was going through difficult times, because then I knew, okay, I don't want to be in this situation anymore, and I'm going to learn from it, you know. Or I found out what it was I really wanted from life, you know. Because if everything's going good in life, if everything, you're just sailing by, you're in cruise control, you can't really grow. Do you know what I mean? You're just stagnant, you know. You're just kind of like that. Whereas sometimes, in order to get, you know, over there, you have to go down there first, you know, because I had to kind of hit a decline, and I think I'm really struggling right now, and I don't want to be in this situation anymore. How do I get out of this situation? You know, and then I find myself finding new passions and new interests in life, you know, and then that brings the joy. Then when I finally get to a stage of where I am today, for example, I get great joy from that, you know, and that's because I set a goal for myself where for example, I don't want to drink anymore. I've set that goal, and now I'm 3 years sober tomorrow, you know, and that's been some journey, you know, and it'll be a rewarding feeling tomorrow when I don't know the exact time that I had my last drink. Yeah, exactly, yeah.
When I drop over that six pack.
Yes, just crack it open and go, and then just make a can.
Go back on.
Yeah, well, that was fun. And now, next goal, having cans to drink tonight. But yeah, exactly. It's just like that rewarding feeling, and I wouldn't have gotten to where I am tomorrow had I not gone through so many struggles and wanted to change, you know. So you gotta appreciate the bad times just as much. You gotta appreciate the good times, you know.
I think just to jump in on that as well. After. I heard something in a podcast the other day, and it was a dude, and he's been sober for like a good few years, and he was saying, and I know, Costello, you can relate to this, and it's like, for some people that are maybe trying to get sober for addiction problems, or for addiction, let's say, they're like, well, I don't want it yet, but supposedly, Costello, you can probably, kind of back me up here, but it's like it's a calling. Like it happens. There's a moment, or you hit that rock bottom, or you might hit rock bottom a few times, but supposedly you might lose everything and just go, that's it. It just happens, and you're just like, it's time to change, But there's some people are,
It's a whole different feeling than I had the other times that I said, I'm done. I'm gonna stop drinking now. But then, I would go back drinking. Then it was a whole different feeling that I had to those times, Whereas this time I was like, yeah, okay, what do I do? How do I stop this? You know what I mean? I'm done, literally. And before it would have been so forced. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna give up drink, blah blah blah. Literally like a lunatic or something like that. Whereas then when I really did give up, I said, yeah, I'm done. Where do I go from here? And I actually looked for help then, and said, what do I do? I'll do it. I'll do whatever it takes, So there's a much more kind of calming feeling. It's interesting.
It's like you're down on your knees and you're just like, I'm finished. You know what I mean? This is it. Take me.
Whatever it takes, man. Yeah.
Yeah,
that's it. Take me, sexy Jesus. Get me out of here. It kind of reminded me weirdly. I was watching an interview with Elon Musk the other day, talking about going to Mars, and somebody asked him about what do you think of the people that say it's impossible or it's ridiculous or whatever, and he basically just went I don't look at it like that. He's like, in my thinking, this has to be done, and whether it's done by me or it's done by somebody else, there is no failure. Failure isn't an option. He's like, this just has to happen. So we will do whatever it takes to make it happen.
It's there's no such thing as trying. It's like he's doing it or he's not doing it. He's just gonna do it.
That's it. And there's no there's no other thinking around it. It's just this has to be done.
Yeah, and that's the kind of mindset with when you hear of athletes who, I don't know, fighters that became champions and, people who won, fucking the Masters in golf or whatever, they just knew it was happening, this is going to happen, and they were just in this zone where there was no other option,
that flow state, man. That's something we've been talking about this whole time as well, is flow, really. A little bit
big time.
Kind of how much flow you have in your life, because I used to get in a flow state drinking pints of Guinness in the pub. That was
yes,
how I did it. So, and now I have other ways of getting into that state also, which might be worth mentioning for people that are listening. That you need that,
yeah, man, totally agree with that.
But the flow state,
for real,
powerful stuff.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, man. And it makes your life more... It's something that I really noticed kind of, I suppose, going quitting drinking as well, is how those types of things, like going to Muay Thai in the morning, can make you feel good for the day. That's, 2 hours, not on the internet, physical effort. You're not thinking, you're not self-conscious. You're, you act it out, you get the relief, and that kind of sets you up for a better type of mindset or a better type of... So I wonder, is it just healthier flow states and unhealthier flow states? I don't know, because drinking kind of does the same thing. It turns off.
It does. Yeah.
In your head.
Yeah.
Just thinking out loud anyway. But is there anything else, man? Any advice you give to people maybe that are thinking of doing the same thing? Any words of wisdom that would be, or for me specifically? I'm asking for myself.
New Year. It's the start of a new year, so maybe I know we spoke about goals during this podcast, so maybe this is the time of the year to start setting a few goals to work towards, and listen, if all you can do is your best shot, and at the end of the year, if you look back and there was one or two goals you didn't get to succeed in, still have that self-love for yourself, still know that you tried, because the main thing is that all we can do in life is do our best, so That's kind of my advice anyway. Be good to yourself and look to better yourself as well.
What about you, Mo?
Yeah. I'd say pretty similar as well. I'd say, if you are thinking about maybe taking a break off the gargle, if you're someone that drinks every weekend, maybe just try a week. And then, but maybe make plans for next weekend. Make plans to go on a hike with, like, get on right now, this moment when you listen to this, like, get onto someone, because this is what I'm sure you're all saying this is what we've all done. It's like, plan something else for the weekend. Plan a hike, plan to go for a gym session on Sunday morning early with one of the other lads. And like, I guess, like Costello said, like, give it a go. You've got nothing to lose. It doesn't matter what age you are, just give it a go and then see if you like it, and see if there's any other people around that that might not necessarily be a friend of yours, but maybe reach out, ask them, us. And we're always going for training sessions and hikes and runs and swims, like, religiously. So all is welcome. This is all. It's all about having that community, of like-minded people. And if you're looking to find, a different sense of community, like, look for those people, because they're all around. They're everywhere.
Yep. Sage wisdom, man. And I'm hoping to do more of it myself, to be honest. It's big inspiration, and for you putting up that post, Mo, that pushed me over the line, man. I was thinking about it, and I was like, you know what? Now's the fucking time. Get in the pool. Get it.
That's
done.
amazing.
And,
that's amazing. I'm glad. And, like, I mean, I could have not put it up, and I could have just kind of kept it to myself, but I had this rush. Honestly, like, I had this, like, proper. I was like, I want to put this up on my social media, and I want people to see it. I want to be held accountable for it. I want to see if there's other people that are on the same boat as me.
Yeah,
and I got a good few messages from people being like, like, I'm taking a few weeks off, or like, I want, and then yourself and one or two other people are like, I want to do the same kind of thing. And I don't know, sometimes it just takes someone to say it out loud, and then you don't have to
follow. And hopefully this podcast can do the same as well, man. People are thinking about it.
Another thing, like, you don't have to, like, it doesn't, just if you want to take a break off drinking, or if you want to, it doesn't mean that you don't have to have an addiction, or like, if it could be just for health reasons, for lifestyle reasons, and that's exactly why I'm doing it. I think, man, you're the same, so that's okay.
Yeah, just to try a new way of being and see things a bit differently, like, and it's certainly, I mean, the other times I've done it have been eye-opening, like, and I'm sure this year will be as well. And what's next for you guys? What can people look forward to with the Two Chaps?
Ooh.
Yeah, we have a few plans in place anyway.
A few special announcements.
Well, we've got our 5-year plan down anyway, and we know where we want it. We know kind of the direction we want to go in, and the places that we want to take the brand to. So all we can say is keep your eyes peeled anyway.
Shit.
Yeah.
People find you on Instagram. Find you on, is that the main place?
You know where to find us.
Yeah, Twochapsdeli, Twochapsendurance, and then we have a website, www.twochaps.ie.
That's the one.
That's where you'll find the Two Chaps.
Sick.
Yeah.
Thank you both, boys. Appreciate
Thanks,
it.
man. Great to see you.
Thanks very much, bud. Always a pleasure. Great. I love your stuff, and keep doing what you're doing as well.